who wake up every day and ask themselves, how can I make the state of Israel better? That's where I want to be. That's the world I want to be.
It's a coffee place. Hanging up, and then the waitress came with the espresso. And I said to her, "You're not going to believe this. When I ordered the espresso, I was still the Minister of Finance." And so she was the first person to know. For my wife, the fact that during your time as Prime Minister, the prices of housing went up 80% in 6 years. And somebody else will come and will fix this. This will be, you remember what they told you? They tried, and it was in the budget, to reform the JNF, because the system became more important than the result. And we wanted to think in Israel, you're not supposed to have one kind of medicine to rich people and another kind of medicine to poor people. And then now they're going to unfix it. And more than anything else, they are now freed from the necessity to do anything on the political side. The Yesh campaign, we have said all the time, we need to go back to the table and negotiate. Not strictly with the Palestinians, not bilateral talks, but multilateral talks with the entire region. We need to be we need to go to the Arab League, and we need to talk about the Israeli-Palestinian solution with the entire Arab world. We have to have a summit, a regional summit that says that we have to go there and say we are willing to negotiate because we understand this cannot be just stopped. Israel cannot absorb 4 million Palestinians and stay a Jewish state and a democratic state. We have to go back to the table. But they will not go back to the table unless someone will force them to. Because this creates, again, political troubles and problems back home in their own backyard. The good thing is of shekels into the infrastructure of all the plans we have made. We have finished working with all the different ministries. An opportunity here to say, okay, we can choose between the people that have a plan and the people that the only plan they have is to do nothing and enjoy the facilities and the good life of being governing. So Prime Minister Netanyahu is going to based on the same trick, and the trick is treating us all like we were 4 years old. And when you are a 4-year-old, there are only 2 things that work so: candies and threats. So for 4 campaigns now, they promise things they cannot deliver in terms of the good of the people. And they have threatened us with Iran, with Hezbollah, with Hamas, with all these horrible, horrible things that might happen to us if we didn't vote the right way. We have an obligation to create a better world, to create a country that is answering to the Jewish morals of helping the weak, of tolerance, to universal morals, of the ability to work with an international community.
Hard questions for a living. I'm going to ask a few questions that our audience submitted before this evening, and then we're going to open it up to Q&A, because I know you just are here to answer our questions, and above all, we appreciate that. So So, the advantage of this opportunity of new elections is for people to go and vote for one of the major parties and to not support the smaller parties which lead to destabilization of our democracy. What do you got to say about that? And it's okay, we told him we were going to ask you.
Okay, first of all, it's one of the very few times I agree with Yuval Stein. The only thing I do not agree with him is which major parties should govern. And let me tell you something.
Legislation.
Well, it's a perfect example. Sounds like Dolly Parton, Brad Paisley went. You're surprised I know who Brad Paisley is, right?
That was impressive. So does that make me carry
I also
Underwood?
know, I know them all. Lake Shelton, you named it. Big fan of country. The Hokaleo state. The only reason, there were about 4 of them. One that was written by Ruth Calderon, who sits here, who wanted to adopt the Megillat Ha'atzmaut, Declaration of Independence, as this legislation. There was another, but Benny Begin, who's part of the Likud, who's a great, who wrote a beautiful piece of legislation. 3 lines says it all. There was another one that, surprisingly enough, was written in the Prime Minister's office that had 14 clauses that we were discussing. And there was another one, the 4th one, an older one, by Zev Elkin. And for some reason, the Prime Minister brought the older one that everybody agreed that is full of flaws and is creating trouble with the Jews and with the Jews abroad and with the diaspora, with everybody. It's not a matter of principle. It's just, you know, bad drafting. And he brought this one to government, and it was ridiculous because we all sat there and begged him to bring instead his own law, the one he read, and he refused. And then we realized this is not a real tryout. This is just a way of him to poke us in government and Knesset, and we just announced we're not going to let this pass, and this is why it didn't pass.
So can we sum it up for the potential voters here to say, you agree with the idea of it, just not the way it was written?
Totally. I think Israel is the homeland of the Jewish people. There is a reason my father went in a boat in Hungary and came here and didn't go to the States like some of his best friends. He came because he wanted to live in the land of the Jews. And
or a girl from Birmingham, Alabama.
Or a girl from Birmingham, Alabama. Yes. Great ribs.
So...
I have been to Birmingham, Alabama.
Really?
One of the very few Israelis.
Oh my goodness.
In cities all over Israel. This is not talking. This is boots on the ground. 16,000 in Rosh Hashanah, 12,000 in Modi'in, 7,500 in Kiryat Gat. I went to all these places. 16,000 in Stedov. Okay? They're going to evacuate Stedov next year and build apartments instead.
Am I going to be able to afford one?
You're going to be able to afford at least the ones who are for rent. About 5,000 to 6,000 out of the 16,000 are going to be for rent that comes from this company. And all the budgets for this company were cancelled today by the Prime Minister, because the Prime Minister is right now the Minister of Finance is also the Minister of Finance. So he cancelled today the project, and the only reason he cancelled the project is because he didn't like the fact that the core project was initiated by us. But yes, we're going to build, and I'm telling you, if they didn't stop now the zero VAT plan and the entire housing plan, prices would have gone down double-digit in 2015.
I'm waiting, asking me how much I make. That's usually the first Israeli question. How much does your apartment cost? But I'm nervous. I'm an Ola Chadasha. I have a great job, and I don't think I'm ever going to be able to buy a house here. And a lot of people say that your plan isn't going to give me the ability to buy a house here.
They are wrong. First of all, if that zero would have passed, as Ola Chadasha you also entitled, you would go and you buy your apartment minus 250,000 in a nutshell. In Israel, unlike Alabama.
It's like free to live there.
Yeah.
They pay Jews to move there, if you heard.
No, but in Alabama, the land is owned by private people. In Israel, 93% of the land is governmental owned. And therefore, what actually the government has done is selling a product they have to young people, and then the price went up and up and up and up, and they've done nothing to prevent it. And after selling this product in a preposterous price, they have also took a very high tax on this product. So what I did was I tried to at least cancel this tax. And this is past the government, and this is past the Knesset when I first called, and then it was cancelled because we were fired. And then the next day, the Prime Minister went to some convention and he said two things. He says, A, we couldn't do it because it cost 3 billion shekels. It cost 2 billion shekels. It's in the budget. You at least expect the Prime Minister to...
He's not really good with numbers either.
He's not good with the details. And B, he said, but the problem is it's not supervised. We have worked for 8 months in mapping the entire country and to supervise the prices of new apartments in order to make sure we're giving this tax-free apartments only in supervised prices. So they didn't even know what they canceled. They just took it away from you.
I asked you a few tough questions. Now I'm going to give you a freebie. You ready?
Sure.
Okay. You want to be our Prime Minister?
Is this a freebie?
I'm asking. Do you want to be our Prime Minister?
Listen, you bring in the polygraph. I am not in it for a job for myself. I had a better job than any politician in the state of Israel before coming into politics. I'm telling you, being on television was fun. I made a lot of money. I was famous. I was liked.
And no one fired you.
And no one fired. I only resigned every now and then. So I'm telling you, I'm not there for the job. I will do everything that my country asks me to do. I will go to any office that I will feel useful for the good of the people. And I don't want to make this into a person. I know you're asking a question that...
I mean, it's Yesh, led by Yair Lapid. It's
yes,
kind of a personal thing.
Yes, well, it is our party, and we did that because when we established the party, nobody knew what the name of the party was. At least they knew my name, so we put it all together. But I'm telling you, I'm not there for myself, and your question is rooted into American politics that are very personal. It is different here, so I'm telling you, I don't care which door.
Hillary, I cannot live a decent life here in Israel if I want to be a teacher. What is the reason to stay in Israel?
Now that's a good question.
Are you born Israeli? You're born Israeli. It's an interesting question coming from the born Israeli in the country. Because I think a lot of people here who immigrated to Israel, who came from the diaspora to Israel, understand that Israel is all about identity questions. That has nothing to do with, standard of living is very important. And the cost of living in Israel is way too high. And there is a struggle. 80% of Israel is Jews, and we want to call it the Jewish state. 80% of Jordan is Palestinians. Why don't we call them the Palestinian state? Well, first of all, because they don't want to. And it's really hard to force them. The idea of making Jordan the Palestinian state has been circling around for quite a while. It is part of several ideas that were all created because people want a miracle to happen there itself, a Palestinian state, and even if we will, the only result we will have is that our peace treaty with Jordan will vanish all of a sudden. So unfortunately, it is not doable.
Oh, look at this! Did you did not pay him to say this, did you? No.
Listen,
This poor Rabbi Lapid's red in the face.
Yeah, well,
That's a good question.
listen, I cannot promise you this because I'm not getting into this right now, but I can promise you something else. If we'll keep on talking about this right now for 10 minutes, you will die out of a heart attack.
Anyone I've ever met, she said you have to leave.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, okay, she's lovely. She's lovely. Anyways, thank you so much for being